What's up, Charlitas family? In this episode of Charlitas, the Charlitas crew talks about retirement and what it's like to have the feeling of trying to retire your parents and support them through retirement.
When I think about money and like the way my parents talked about money in my household, it's kind of like two opposite sides of it.
Like, we need to save money and we need to save money. And my dad's like, we got paid, let's go out to eat.
When we were good, like it was the same.
Better to buy expensive stuff that'll last you forever than cheap stuff that you have to constantly keep buying and buying.
Let me see where like my money is going like every month.
I got like my big girl job, and then I had to like apply for different retirement plans, and like I went over them with my parents, and I was like, so which one should I get? And they're like, I don't know.
Realize that like it's kind of like your responsibility now to ensure that your parents have something to fall back on. My dad will have those conversations with me where he'll be like, you guys are old enough to take care of yourselves, but I hope that you guys end up taking care of us. And I'm like, well, of course, but it is this money, And like, what am I going to say? No. Like, no, I'm not going to lend you the money. Like, I'm going to say yes.
He's like, Sam, I'm not even going to bother asking you, because then your man is going to say no. And I'm always like, there's going to be a point where you are going to need me, whether it's financially or not.
But it's like the responsibility that we kind of put on ourselves as like children of immigrant parents to like.
This is such a good episode and brings so much insights of what it's like in a Hispanic household. We hope you enjoy it. What we're releasing as episode 11 was originally planned to be episode 12. You're gonna be getting the season finale early. And next month, we'll be uploading episode 12 that was originally planned to be episode 11. So essentially, the episodes are flopped. But before we get into the episode, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hey Charlitas fam, if you haven't been to Provecho in downtown Vancouver, you're missing out. They got new ownership, they've added new dishes, and a whole new vibe rooted in Southern Mexican flavors. So go check them out.
Hey, my name is Alejandro.
And I am Raul, and we are the new owners of Provecho. We have kept the heart of the menu and added some Southern-inspired dishes.
And we've made hospitality top priority. Come check us out.
We're located in downtown Vancouver. See ya.
I'm your co-host, Pamela.
Jair.
Luis.
Sam.
And Alma. And again, thank you so much for joining us again. This episode, we have a treat for you. Get it? We're the treat. Sorry. This episode, we will be touching on, retirement plans. That's such a scary word. Not just retirement plans, but, kind of like our relationship with money, both growing up and like how it is now, and, how the different things we did growing up in regards to money, and how our parents like made us believe that, not flushing the toilet saved us money. Stuff like that. But before we get too into that, just a disclaimer, we're not experts in anything, really.
Especially not money.
So we are not money experts at all. Do not take any of what we say as money advice. We're just sharing our own personal experiences and our lived experiences. So please take that into consideration when considering to do anything we talk about in this episode. Okay, so let's get into it, right? Mm-hmm. So to get us started, we have a little icebreaker. We might have to if we have time for it. But I was just thinking we could talk about, growing up. I feel like going out to eat was such a big, cool thing to do, especially with family. But I was thinking, what was your guys' fancy, or as a kid that you thought was the fanciest place you went out to eat? Does someone want to get us started?
For me, I would say every time we would go to an Asian buffet. That was that would be like the fanciest. The fanciest place would be that we would go as a family to go out to eat would be like an Asian buffet. And there was one that we really like. We're loyal to buffets, okay? Once we find a good one, we are loyal to it. So there was one that we used to go to, and then they closed it down. So then we found another one and we went there for years. And then COVID happened and they had to close down. And ever since then, we haven't found a good one. But I feel like Asian buffets were like our fancy outings, like saving it for like those special days type of things.
For me, I don't think we really went out a lot. Like, yes, to Asian buffets, but I'm gonna say Olive Garden. Mm-hmm. Just because you have to wait for for them to seat you and stuff. I'm gonna say Olive Garden.
I would also say Olive Garden too. This one time, my padrino works there, and he I don't know, he put on like a show. I don't know what they did, but it was like we were like the main characters.
Damn, for what they do?
I got pizza,
They sell pizza at all? They sell pizza at Olive Garden?
or at least they used to. But it was like one of those nicer Olive Gardens by like a nice neighborhood. So I was like, dang.
I don't think we went out to eat a lot, but I think when I was little, I thought those Mexican places that sold mariscos was like fancy because I thought because seafood's expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
That was mine. Oh, y luego tenían la banda playing. I don't know, a little serenade.
Yeah, no, Asian buffets. Like there was one in like when we used to like go to Texas when I was little. It was this like big buffet. It was called Lynn's or something like that. Lynn's. And as a kid, I was chowing down like like pizzas like you would not believe it, dude. But even then, like I would even try like other foods and stuff.
I
It was like
how
huge.
you go to an Asian buffet.
Yeah,
and you get pizza.
Yeah, and I get the it's literally like the pizzas that you get frozen from like Dollar Tree. Literally,
That
like.
was totally my brother too.
It's
But
like
I
a
was
guilty
like
pleasure.
chowing down on pizza the entire pizza and like
And the free ice cream I'm not the free, but like the ice cream bar that you could
yeah,
get
like
at
it had
the
like
end.
pistachio ice cream and like peaches, and that's all I would eat every time I'd go there. But I remember one time we got like lobster too. That's like my only time I got in lobster. But I thought it was like I was like, this is the best food ever. I was like, this is the best food ever.
I do have a request for anybody watching. Like, if you know any good buffet places around the PNW area, please let us know, because like I'm telling you, we haven't found a buffet that we can continue a loyal relationship with. And Jair says he knows some, but
he never takes us.
but
he never takes us.
You guys want to cross
Like-
the bridge?
like let us know for real. Like I need an Asian buffet in my life right now. That would heal me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get really into Asian.
You want the address?
No, I just thought our co-host was our host of the day was going to lead us into the next topic.
I have to lead the whole thing. I thought it was just the intro. No, yeah, I always liked going out to with my parents, but when I was little, I noticed that it was always like during a special occasion. And I think that just came down to like money. We didn't have like the finances to be able to go out often. And that just like leads us into the topic of like, what money advice did your parents give you growing up? I feel like with my parents, money was like my mom would always say like, aguarda un billete. Like, yo tenía una alcancía. Did she take that money later? Yeah. But like, she taught me that you have to like save a little bit here and there, you know? I don't know.
Wait, she stole money from you?
Oh yeah, because like, let me get into it. She would like always tell us to save like $1 bill. Porque mi papá nos daba dinero, right?
Yeah.
Like here's a $5 bill.
Like an allowance type of thing?
Yeah, but it wasn't like every week. It was like once in a while.
Randomest
Yeah, like
times.
at the random time. He like, I have a $5 bill for you.
And then
so,
he would
like,
split that into two.
so we would get and so we would all, I would like, teníamos una alcancía and I would put it in there. Tell me why one time I caught my mom taking money out of my alcancía. And that's when I
Yeah.
knew.
I couldn't rely on my mom.
I can. That's where all the money went. I don't think I ever got a cent from that back.
You're like, I wonder why I'm not saving enough money. Like, what is going on? That's funny. I know for when I think about money and like the way my parents talked about money in my household, it's kind of like two opposite sides of it. Like, I have my mom telling us that money, like, okay, wait. Hold on, let me explain. Because obviously we have to take into account, like, the backgrounds of our parents too, right? So, like, they came from a really small town, not a lot of resources, right? And they were really poor. My dad's family, he, like, they had to, like, really work for that money. And ever since they were young, they had to, like, work and to earn that money. So, like, for my dad, money is something, like, I feel like my dad, like, now that he's able to work for money or whatever, it's hard for him to let it go or something. And so he's really, like, hard on, like, you know, we got to save money because then there'll be one day when you don't have money. And so, like, then you're going to be, like, off bad somewhere. I don't know, whatever, right? And then there's, like, on the other end with where my mom, like, she was on the more privileged side where, like, her dad opened up a store. So, like, they had, like, a steady income of money that was going into their house. Like, they wasn't like like super rich or whatever, you know, but it was enough to keep them afloat. And so my mom's never had that, like, to reach the level of poverty that my dad reached. And so my mom often is like, you know, like, al final de esta vida, like, at the end of this life, like, we're all gonna die anyways, and we're not gonna take money with us. But then my dad's argument is always like, yeah, but we're not gonna die tomorrow. You know, we're going to die like 50 years later. So, and what are we going to do in those 50 years without money? So it's like, you know, those two opposite ends were like, not a lot of importance with money. Like, don't work so hard that you end up killing yourself to get money. But also, like, you need money to survive right now. Kind of thing. I don't know. That's how money was viewed in my house. So yeah.
My dad's kind of like the opposite of your dad. Whenever he gets money, he's like, send it to someone who needs it in Mexico. Send it to someone who needs it in Mexico. My mom's like, no, you have to, like, learn how to save. She would, like, sometimes, like, hide money from him. I don't know, this is TMI, but she would sometimes hide money from him so he wouldn't spend it. Like, if he has a $5 bill in his wallet, he's buying something.
I feel like that's...
He grew up poor too.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's, for my parents, it's kind of like on their mood during the time. Because sometimes my dad will be like, we have, like, the resources to buy, like, something good. Like, you deserve to give yourself, like, the good things in life. But then other times he's like, no, pero ponte las pilas, tienes que ahorrar dinero, you know? And he's so weird sometimes because, you know, since we're here in the United States, he's like, I didn't have this in Mexico. So now that we're here, like, I'm going to get it because, like, we're here and we have the resources. And so I guess it is very confusing sometimes to navigate, like, how to look at money just because they always have different viewpoints at different times. That, to me, it got confusing where it's like, so when do I know to, like, be able to spend my money on, quote unquote, the good things in life? And then when do I know when to, like, save? If that makes sense.
And I feel like in my household, even when we were, like, low, you know, like, it was never obvious. Like, it was never made obvious by my parents that we were, you know, really struggling and pushing by. But I feel like that's true also at the opposite end. Like, when we were doing really well, like, me and my brothers had no idea that we were doing really well because they also just kept it, like, low key, you know, type of thing. So yeah, it was, I don't know. I don't know. When you ask me, how is my relationship with money now? I would say that I don't know. Like, sometimes, I feel like recently I've gotten better with money, especially considering, like, society. Like, you just really have to, like, keep an eye on your money right now and just, like, you know, because things are getting tough. Things are getting tough out there. And sometimes I look at those shoes that I really want and I'm like, I can't, Sam. Sorry, Sam. Sorry, maybe next time. Even though I have the funds for it, but I just, like, not for some reason, because I know why. Because I know that, like, I can hear my dad's voice in my head being like, you're gonna need that money. So I'm just like, I'm not gonna spend on these shoes, even though I really want some. And I could probably buy them since I don't buy anything else throughout the year, you know, but I'm just like.
I think for me, it's definitely, like you're saying, like current events happening in our world right now that has made me change my lens on how I use money. Like, yeah, what Mama was saying. But I think it's, for my family, it's sometimes the opposite, where it's like my mom, she's always like, we need to save money and we need to save money. And my dad's like, we got paid, you know, let's go out to eat. And for me, I was like, I remember when I started getting like a steady income, right? I was like, ooh, I can finally have like this subscription that I've always wanted to, for whatever it was, right? But now I'm always double, like, I'm doing the math now, and I'm like, I have to pay, I have these bills to pay now. Okay, what's left over? Like that rule where it's like 50, 20, 30, 50, 30, 20, you know, now I have to apply that. And I probably should have been applying that since, you know, I started working, but I didn't. And so now, like I'm saying, like current events have made me put that into perspective, and it's tough.
Yeah, when you start measuring your your finances or whatever, when you start measuring it in number of hours of work, I'm always like, okay, this is 2 hours of my work day. Like, exactly. Is it worth it or not?
Maybe this shouldn't be costing me 3 hours of my life. So it's definitely has switched because, yeah, like, you know, when we first started getting paid, I was like, oh, I can finally buy those jeans that I always wanted. Like, oh my gosh, that book, whatever. And now I'm like, I still have my jeans. They still work, type of thing. So it's definitely changed. Or my prefrontal cortex is finally developed. But yeah, that has been my current view on money.
I'm trying to think. I was trying to think the whole time, like, how my relationship with money is, like, based off, like, seeing my parents and the way they handle their finances. I feel like money wasn't, like, a really big deal until, like, I don't know. I kind of started, like, during like my teens and stuff, when I started just to kind of notice, like some of the financial decisions that, like, my parents would make. And, like, at the time I thought, like, cool, we're getting a new car, or, like, cool, like we have money to buy this truck or something, but it was, like, all for work, right? But then, like I just remember, like, my parents talking a lot about money, and, like, for example, like, there would be times where, like, my mom and my dad, I think, had different views on, like, basically kind of like a lot of you guys are, like, saying, like, on how they should handle, like, their money. But at the same time, like, I also relate to what Sam said about, like, when we were good, like, it was the same. And when we don't, and when we didn't have money, it's pretty much like the same. Like, honestly, it didn't really change. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, to be honest. Like, looking back now, and now that I'm more, like, financially responsible, and now I'm way more, like, understanding of, like, shoot, like, there's, like, you know, the rent, the bills, the car insurance, and things like that. I look back at some of, like, those decisions and things, and even if I'm not like judging them for, like, the decisions that they made, because at the end of the day they thought that's what was best at the time. But I do look back and I'm like, oh, I see, like, why my mom was, like, arguing with my dad to not buy that brand new car. And because now looking back, now that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, we shouldn't have bought that, because, like, you know, you got to pay for it and stuff like that. And it's like, when we could have bought, like, maybe, like, a used one and stuff at the time, or, like, or vice versa. Like, maybe my mom wanted to get something, and then looking back, it's like, oh, like, should we have bought that? And then, like, I apply that to, like, my personal life. I wouldn't say, like, that I'm, like, what's it called? I don't know. Maybe I am, I guess, a little bit stingy with my money. In the way, though, that, like, I like saving up. I like saving up just because, like, something always comes up. And I feel like the times where I've had, like, a lot of money, something did come up. So then I just had to go, and then knowing I wasn't getting that money back or something, you know, which is fine. But it's like it's always reminded me like, damn, like I gotta make sure that that I'm like that I have money, you know. And yeah, it kind of goes into like the whole like, well, I want to buy stuff, and I do be buying stuff, and I'm like, like even this week I bought like 2 shirts. I bought like these 2 shirts, and it was like $100 and something. And then like literally like 10 seconds after, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna send an email, and I was like, I just want 1 shirt. Sorry about that. And they're like, okay. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, just one.
You said 1 is okay.
Yeah, just one is fine. But even then, I'm like, oh, should I even have bought it? But I'm like, yeah, I should have bought it. It was limited edition. But you know, like yeah, like my own even like finances and stuff. I don't make a lot of money, but like I'm becoming more financially responsible. So it's kind of like I'm like, shoot, like what do I do? Kind of like I gotta make sure like the other like a couple months ago, I think I did like a little like, okay, let me see where like my money is going like every month. And it was pretty shocking. And it was pretty shocking how much money I was spending, especially on things like food and stuff like that, like eating out. Like I was like, damn, like I'm spending that much. I had no idea. So I've been for sure cutting down like on like a lot of those like expenses and things like that. But all those things, like the way I am is from like the experiences I've seen with like my parents and stuff. And also my brother too. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you like siblings. There's also like a spend money differently, you know? And like, for example, like my brother is very like get it and spend it, you know? And I'm like, dude, like, you know, like you're about to like move out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're always trying to tell him, and he's like, you know, like, it's my money. Like I can, like, I'll if I want to spend it now, I'll spend it now. But I'm like, okay, all right. I'm like, all right. But, you know, so it's also another reason, like, why I've been more like, let me not buy that. Like, let me wait a little bit more. Yeah, that's my experience.
For me, I feel like growing up, I just knew spending money or saving money. But like as I got a little older, and I kind of learned this from my dad too, is like investment. Like he works in construction, and then from what I learned from him, he was like, it's better to buy expensive stuff that'll last you forever than cheap stuff that you have to constantly keep buying and buying. Yeah.
I think like investments are a big part of like the financial culture, especially, you know, like for example, I feel like a lot of times you hear like, it's better to buy land. It's better to buy like land or terrenos, or, you know, it's always better to buy a house. But like in a way that's kind of like they say that because like that's what they were taught. And it might apply to them, but like it might not apply to the way the economy works now too at the same time. But it's like I've always heard like those kind of things, like, you know, especially like,
I mean, there'll always be money in land.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm not saying there won't be, but I'm just saying like it's like a big part of like, you know, things like of being like, hey, you know, you could buy land in Mexico or something. You know what I mean? And things like that, and that's a good investment and stuff like that. But it's just kind of like this whole thing about like that's kind of how it worked for them, and it still works for us. But at the same time, maybe there's other ways that we could spend money. And it kind of gets into the topic of like a lot of things we don't know about like finances because our parents didn't know them.
They could only, well, at least for my parents, they could only know from what they experienced, not from like other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I feel like we talked this a little bit before, but it's just like, again, growing up, becoming more financially independent, and then being like talking with my parents about it, having questions, and then they're like, oh, that's how it works? Or they're like, oh, I didn't know, or like, I don't know. And I'm like, how do you not know? And I'm like, so how have we been living this whole time? You know? And I'm like, okay, damn, like I guess I gotta like figure it out or learn it on my own. But I mean, it's also part of it, you know?
When Jair mentioned investment, I thought you meant like investing.
That too.
Like that too, because I feel like that also has to do with something like part of that unknown, especially like here in the U.S., like the financials culture and the system or whatever, with like retirement plans and like investing and whatever and all of that. I feel like that's something that is not known unless like you are educated on all of that, and you're aware of that. And I know like when I got like my big girl job and then I had to like apply for different retirement plans, and like I like went over them with my parents and I was like, so which one should I get? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, girl, me neither. And they're but there's also like the whole like investing has a lot of people do investments, and that's how they save also for like their future and their future retirement plans too. So
If you do buy a stock, don't forget to pay the taxes.
see, like I still don't know. Like that's like a whole different thing that I'm still learning, because like I'm the first one, I guess, that's like going through that, and like yeah, I don't know. It's all so complicated.
My brother watches a lot of YouTube videos, and then like from whatever he learns about like credit cards, investing, he like just teaches me, which is like really nice to know too.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about retirement plans, Sam, and that like that's one of like the unknowns, at least for my parents, that like they know what it is, but they don't have that. And that's when, it kind of lands on us, as in like our, me and my siblings. And that's like such a scary thing, because like their financial literacy is only everything they've experienced, right? And so they pass that on to us. And that's the only financial literacy that we have. And so I guess like, at like what age did you guys realize that like it's kind of like your responsibility like now to ensure that your parents have something to fall back on?
It's a traumatic question, so I'm just kidding.
I feel like for me, I've always kind of known. I guess maybe because we were always poor, so like child age.
When I gained conscious.
I was like, I'm gonna bring him up.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think being the oldest, and my dad now, he always like talks about like, oh, when I'm gone, everything's gonna fall on you, and I'm like, what? Not me. Like, I don't want that burden. But I get it. I get where he's coming from, especially because so recently, like our grandmother came to stay with us, right? And mind you, a little backstory: in su familia, there were 12 kids, and my dad's the third oldest. So everything was always like, he was one of the ones that like everything fell on him, right? And so hearing from my grandma and how like she was like, yeah, tu papá and like uno de sus hermanos, they had to support us financially, right? And so now I see that because now I have to help my parents financially. And like you were saying, it's what they were taught, and now they kind of taught us
That
through
the
lived
oldest
experience.
takes it
Yeah,
on.
and so my dad will have those conversations with me where he'll be like, you guys are old enough to take care of yourselves, but I hope that you guys end up taking care of us. And I'm like, well, of course, but it's also like, I don't want that burden, because it's a lot to think about. Because now I'm like, yeah, when I'm older, well, I thought it was going to be like now with a house for them, but obviously that didn't work out. But I'm always like, I want to buy them a house, like a stable house type of thing. Yeah, I don't know.
And
I don't know.
We don't know.
And I feel like because you were talking about like emergencies and like where you have had to spend money, right? And I think it became apparent to me like that I was gonna, or that me and my siblings were gonna be responsible for, taking care of our parents when they're older financially, was when emergencies did happen and they would come to us for financial support. And I was like, oh, whoa, yeah. I mean, that's a thing.
Yeah, I had to pay for our roof. I had to help out with the roofing.
Yeah.
And And I remember I saw this TikTok one time where I was like, it's very hard for, you know, Hispanic, Latino children to be financially stable because they share, or they know that they have this responsibility of taking care of their parents. So whenever something arises, it kind of falls on them to be the ones responsible to deal with it. And I think that's very true. Just because, like I said, whenever something happens, like they come to us and they're like, oh, nos das un préstamo, or like, can you lend us this money, you know? And like, what am I going to say? No. Like, no, I'm not going to lend you the money. Like, I'm going to say yes because you're my parents.
Yeah.
And that just like has ingrained the notion that like, yeah, I'm going to be doing this for life.
I think in my case, I think my dad is too prideful because he constantly says that like, oh, like the reason I'm working really hard right now is so that later on when I'm old, I don't have to ask you guys for money because I know like you guys can say yes or no. You know, like he tells us that he knows that we don't have the obligation to say, like he knows that we might say yes or we might say no. And especially he's mentioned, like especially me being a woman, being married to like a male partner or whatever, like, you know, how a veces, you know, entre parejas, like between partners se pelean or like whatever they fight, like especially if they share finances or whatever, because like, oh, like you don't have to send money to your parents or whatever, or, you know, that type of thing. And so he's like, always like, Sam, I'm not even gonna bother asking you because then your man is gonna say no. And I'm always like, excuse you, like I'm gonna work for my own money, excuse me, and I get to do whatever I want with it. But he's so prideful. He's like, and I don't want to be like old and like begging you guys for money and whatever. But I'm like, Dad, like, who do you think we are? Like, like, do you think we're evil kids that are just gonna say no to you? Which, like, to be fair, I know there are people out there that like would say no to their kids, you know? I mean, would say no to their parents. So like I see it in my own family, like extended family. So it's not like he's wrong, but also like, Dad, like, I think we have a good enough relationship for me to want to support you guys. But yeah, he always says that like, oh, I don't want to be old and like asking you and begging you guys for money and like all of that. But I'm always like, I'm like, dude, but like your money supply isn't endless. So there's going to be a point where you are going to need me, whether it's financially or not. And if we're being honest, between me and my brothers, I think I would be the one. Like, you really think these two got you?
You know, but you post like a great like other like topic about, for me, for example, my tias would always be like, oh, when are you getting married? You should marry someone rich. And it's like, whoa, hold on. Yeah, no, just kidding. Yeah.
Well, yes.
But the fact that they always view like the male as a provider, which yes, in a lot of cases that is, but it's like, I can also get my own money, you know? I don't know. That's also very...
Because, okay, another thing, like, I feel like most of us come from like a one-parent household, with a one-parent income household, right? Like in my case, like my dad was the only one working. There was a few periods when I was younger where my mom was working, but that quickly, like once my dad started getting more hours and earning a little bit more with like a stable income or whatever, then she stopped working. But it's always just been him working.
Yeah.
So I've always only seen that type of model, and the finances, like literally everything
falls on him,
has always fallen on him, and that's what I've seen. And I've seen what that does to somebody, right? Like not just physically, but like
emotionally,
mentally, you know. Yeah. And it's a lot. It's a lot. So I don't know where I was going with this. There was a point, and I lost it.
Yeah, I wanted to say, like, hearing Obama and then hearing you guys, it's like like two things. It's kind of like the guilt or the kind of not, I don't want to call it a burden. I don't know what the right word for it is, but it's like the responsibility that we kind of put on ourselves as like children of immigrant parents to like want to support for them. Or even if we were like in Mexico, I don't think the situation would be like that much different, like where we would want to support
it's
our parents.
generational.
It's like it's a generational thing, like that we want to take care of our parents because that's part of our culture. It's not, our culture isn't one of like you out the house at 18 and let me just go and then build my own life, and my parents have their own retirement and then they're gonna take care of themselves and they can like, we can put them in like a group home or something or whatever. Like that's not our culture. Not to say that that's good or bad or like, but it's just not what how a lot of us have grown up, and what our parents have taught us is like,
It's like an expectation. Like it's a given expectation. Like it's just part of your role.
in a way, it's like, so in a way, even, but sometimes we put like too much of that responsibility on ourselves, sometimes prematurely, or sometimes, I don't know, we use it as a motivator, and we use it as a way to kind of like decide how we end up living our lives, because we're like, you know, even earlier when we were talking about like, you know, like kind of like, you know, like, oh, roommates or something. And then, you know, it got mentioned that like, well, damn, like I would, but I can't because of my mom or like, you know, my family. And same thing, I'll just speak for myself. Like for myself, it's kind of like, I've been asked like to be roommates with like a lot of my friends who do make like a lot more money than me. And they're like, dude, come on, bro. Like, I'll charge you less. I won't even charge, like, you know, you don't even got to pay, like, I can pay like most of it or whatever. And I'm like, bro, like, I'd be so down, bro. But like, it's not just me. Mm-hmm. It's not just me. And it's like, I got to think about my mom, you know? And it's, but I'm not saying that she's like out here, like, you know, my mom has worked her whole life. So like, you know, she's always taking care of herself, and right now she's the one that's handling the financial responsibility because my dad's not here. And, you know, I've always you know, she's always good. So she's not out here like, you know, begging me to take care of her. But at the same time, I have that of like, but I'm going to, you know, I can't just leave you hanging. And then the other part is that's how we feel as children, but how they feel as parents is sometimes the opposite, you know, because it's like, for example, like you're saying, like your dad is so prideful. Like in my case, like, you know, and maybe it's TMI, but like in my case, like my dad, like he left. So he left to go to Mexico because of like, you know, los planes de retiro, which I'm sure a lot of people who are Hispanic are gonna know a little bit about that, of like, es que si no planeo mi retiro allá, entonces el gobierno no me va a dar dinero or whatever. Like, if I don't plan my retirement over there, then the government isn't gonna like be able to give me money. So I have to plan out my retirement. So he was doing all that because he basically didn't want to be a burden for me and my brother. And so he left. But at the same time, like, that causes a whole another can of like, it just opens up a whole nother can of worms. And you know, it's a learning experience. It's a learning experience right now. It's kind of what we're going through as a family, because of that separation. And it's affecting us differently, but I don't know. I just want to say, like, yeah, it's kind of like crazy, like that we put that expectation on ourselves, but they also have their own expectations, you know? And like, sometimes it's like, they're like, I don't want to put that burden on you guys. So like, so I'd rather leave and go back, you know? But then we're like, no, but we want to take care of you. Like, you know? So, but it's hard because I mean, if we had all the money in the world, we would, right? Like if we could, like it's kind of those things, like as children, you're like, or like when you're young, you're like, yeah, like by 25, I'll probably be like 3 kids, family. My dad visiting my mom, and my dad at their house that I bought them. Then I go to my house or whatever
That I also bought.
you know. But it's just not like that, you know. And money, when money gets tight, it's like everybody's always like on edge a little bit. And it's kind of what I'm going through in like my house, in my house. So yeah.
No, yeah. That's true, how because money has been a big, like, I know I said that, like, you know, we as kids never knew if we were doing work like bad or good, but still money was always like centered around how we were, you know. And I feel like now when I make decisions, it is always based off of how am I going to do financially? Like going in, how am I financially? Leaving, how am I financially? During it, how am I like, you know, like it's always like, okay, like where am I going to be at with money, you know? And that totally reminded me of like college and like choosing a college and which college to go to. And like, I remember my only true factor, like even if I list more than 10 different factors, the only one that I like really actually mattered about was, okay, financially, which college is the best option? Even if I did not want to go to that college, like even when.
Yeah, like it started back then.
Yeah, like even, and one thing that really rubbed me the wrong way was like when like teachers would be like, oh, like this college or like that college, like it's not really like a good, like it's not like a legit college, like you should aim for better. I was like, girl,
Are you paying?
this is all I can afford. So that would always like rub me the wrong way, but you know, like that was what determined what college I went to. And then like once I got into college, it was like, okay, well, can't be actually goofing off here, and you know, because money is being poured into this, so I really gotta just, yeah.
I can totally relate. And I, like you said, how like money is at the center of everything. I feel that way with like getting married personally, because I want to be there to help my parents. Like I can't see myself moving away. I can't see myself just like making my own family. When I imagine myself in 65 years, I imagine myself still living with my parents. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like I need to be taking care of them. And I think that's what has like prevented me from like even dreaming of like going outside of the state or like going out and traveling. Because I know like I'm going to have to come back. And I can't afford to not stay here. And so relationships, bye-bye. I'm never getting married, guys. Because I remember I had this conversation one time with a friend, and they were like, well, we could like live together, and like I could work at this big company, and like you could be doing your like engineering stuff. And like I remember that night, I was like, I really, really thought about it, and I was like, I can't, because I have my parents. Your parents are fine because, you know, they both went to college. They have life figured out. Like my parents don't. So I can't afford to do that. And that's when I guess it got into perspective for them. And they were like, right. Like we're very different. Like we grew up very differently. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always feel that like, even right now, like I did always envision myself with like, you know, like, oh, being on the pathway to like buying a house, and not just a house for my parents, but like, man, maybe I'll have enough money to buy two. Like, what's good? Clearly not the case. And clearly I also didn't understand how the house market worked back then. But
We should have bought houses back then.
right. When I was 7 or 6 or 7. Sorry. You did it in the last episode, so right. Oh yeah. And like, now mid-20s, guys, mid-20s.
Not mid-20s.
Whoa.
Now I'm like, okay, well, this is a little more complicated than I thought. Even though like I am doing better than I thought I was going to do, than I thought I was going to be at, but it's still really hard. And I hear conversations with friends who grew up in different situations, like they're talking about like, oh, like, I already have this X amount of money for a house, or like, I'm looking at these houses or whatever. And I'm just like, I don't see that in my near future. Now that I am more older and like I am thinking more realistically and I understand financially a little bit more, I'm just like, just can't. Like, I can't see that in my near future. And like, as long as my family is like here, I just can't see myself not with them, because why would I put myself in a situation where I'm going to be struggling, but also why would I put them in a situation where they're going to be struggling? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now we're all going to be struggling, because like I decided to like split the finances or whatever.
Yeah, again, it kind of goes into that thing of like, I feel like that's kind of what we're going through in my family, because again, like my brother, like he's gonna leave because he's gonna get married, right? So he's out, but at the same time, like that's another like financial like column, I guess, in our household that's out because he has to make his own life. And I don't know, even though like I feel the exact same way that like you feel, Pame, like, but at the same time, my mom and my dad always told us, like, you guys don't have to worry about us, especially my dad. I mean, he left because he was like, you don't gotta worry about me. He forced them, so he actively made it so that we couldn't like basically like care for him, but it's like, I want to though. And it's still my responsibility, and I think about it for like example myself. Like I'm 23 years old and sometimes it's like, it's all just like, I'm like, oh, dude, like you're overthinking it. Like chill out, bro. Like, but at the same time, it's like, like we have a lot of conversations and my mom is like, well, maybe I should leave to Mexico too. So then I don't bother you. Like I just stay with your dad and you guys can do your own life. But it's like, but at the same time, it's like, then it's just me. And I gotta like support myself for like, like basically just like me, myself. And so then she's like, okay, maybe not. So then now she's also in that little bit of like we have these conversations with like ourselves, right? But they also must have these conversations all the time too of like, am I being a burden on my children? Like, should I leave them so they can, be more be independent, or like go out on their own or something, and then it just goes into that aspect of like, do we separate? And I remember like, for example, like when I was in like college and like about to go to grad school, I remember I was heavily like considering going to Canada to study, but it was around the time that my dad left too. So then I was like, damn, like if I leave too, like we're spreading ourselves so thin. And again, I'm just on my own. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm on my own and I'd leave my mom, my brother. And it's like, not even just like the aspect of like love and like just how hard it would be in that sense, but like also just financially, it's like, I'm like, I can't do it. So now that I'm here, right? And like, and I'm thinking about future plans and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. Is it better if like like, I tell them, like, is it better if we both leave? Like, if we just both leave? Is it better if she just leaves? Is it better if we try to, like, work it out, me and her? But then it's like, what if I find, you know, it goes into, like, that conversation, like, well, what if I find somebody too? Like, what if I find a partner? We want to get married? How do, like, you know, then it's like, we got to navigate that. But at the same time, it's like, you know.
From my experience, yes, I don't want to leave my mom and dad, like how kind of they left their parents. Except for my grandma. I feel like my dad's reasons for leaving her is valid. Because, like, his whole life, he's had to, like, pretty much financially support her. Even though she has, like, 10 kids. Like, the burden went all mainly to him, even though they have a lot more kids. So I'm kind of like, my mom has always told him, like, you know, it's okay to worry about her, but also worry about us, your family, who's gonna be here majority of the time. So I'm kind of like, would like to do both, like, help them in the future, but also, like, mom and dad also understand, like, if you want to start a family, you have to, you know, you have to, like, take care of them too. But there's two of us, so me and my brother, hopefully we could do it.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to both parties want the best for each other.
Yeah.
They want the best for us. We want the best for them, even when they're 80 and wrinkly. And also, we are all grown-ups now, and we all make our own choices. If I choose to want to support you, then that's my choice. And, like, even if it brings a lot of stress or whatever, that's my, like, at the end of the day, that's the choice that I decided to make, you know? So it does come, I just feel like it comes down to those 2 points, I guess. So, if you don't know, that's okay, because none of us know.
But we also don't want to end this episode on a depressing.
Yeah, I felt like that was positive.
I don't think it's depressing.
It's not depressing.
I just think it's a little bit of, like, peek into, like,
deep adulthood.
A peek into, like, adulthood, or I guess our lives, and we're learning as we go. 2 years from now, like, honestly, like.
Thank you for the Inatai Foundation and Peace Health Community Fund for sponsoring this video.
Guys, thanks so much for watching the episode. If you're interested in sponsoring Charlitas, here are some packages.